Anonymous Watch Guy here with a full review video. Quick wrist check. Still rocking the Flutterman von Riest Hanoverian. Full review of that one coming very soon. But today we have a watch that I unboxed on the channel a few weeks ago from Seiko. This is the Seiko Presage style 60s GMT. And this one's kind of flown under the radar a little bit. You've got so many affordable GMTs that come out with this 4R34 movement from Seiko. And then, of course, the 5KX GMTs probably get a little more attention than this one does. And then they've got a couple new colorways coming out of the 5KX GMT. You'll probably actually see the video on the yellow one that I've got coming in before I post this one. But this is a really cool watch, a really solid release from Seiko. And I really like this watch. I think if you're looking for a affordable GMT that maybe with a little bit of a classier look, a little bit of a dressier look, maybe not quite as sporty, this might be one on your radar. Really good dimensions on this one as well. 40.8 millimeters on the case, so essentially a 41 millimeter watch. Does have a 20 millimeter lug opening. I've measured just under 48 millimeters lug tip to lug tip. They do curve down as well. I came up with 47.8. It is 13.1 millimeters thick. You do have a push-pull crown there at the 3 o'clock position that is signed with the old school Seiko S. Does still give you 100 meters water resistance. You've got a boxed style crystal that kind of adds to that vintage vibe of the watch. It is a hard Let's crystal. I mean, I know. Seiko they can't just give us what we want. They're going to stick with hard Lex at this price point. This watch comes in at $625 US full retail, and that is going to get you a hard Let's crystal on a Seiko all day long. But it is a nice looking hard Let's crystal nonetheless. This is a beautiful kind of a bluish green, bluish gray dial, kind of a vertically brushed finish on this dial as well. I can't really get great colors on this one on camera here in the YouTube studio, aka my kitchen table. But I'll post some pictures on Instagram on this as well that maybe show the color of this dial a little bit better, because it really is a very nice looking dial. Of course, it is running the 4R34 movement, as I mentioned, 21,600 vibrations per hour, 41 hours power reserve, 24 joules, hacking hand winning, all that good stuff as well. You've got your high polished indices there that are applied. You've got 3 up at the 12 o'clock and 2 at all of your other outside of the 3 o'clock, where your date complication is also outlined in a high polished silver frame. Gives a lot of light play to that dial, those indices do. You've got an applied Seiko logo there underneath the 12 o'clock position. A high polished Dauphine style handset. And then you've got your white GMT hand down there that looks really nice as well. Presage automatic and GMT also printed above the 6 o'clock position. You've got a fixed 24-hour bezel. Bezel does not move. It is kind of an aluminum-looking bezel insert. Again, that goes with the vintage look of the watch as well. I'm a fan of a nice aluminum bezel insert, but a really good-looking watch. Love the crystal. Love the overall look of the watch in general. You've got a high polish finish on the sides of the case, and then some brushing on the top of the lugs. Decent finishing for a watch of the price point. Definitely in line with the price point. But a nice looking watch. The head of the watch is very attractive. Definitely a fan. The bracelet, on the other hand, is a kind of towards the budget end of the Seiko bracelets, kind of jangly. Not the greatest bracelet in the world. Sized with split pins. Kind of an oyster style bracelet. Is a little bit loose feeling, a little bit jangly. But again, with your 20 millimeter lug opening, you can put just about any other bracelet or strap you want on this watch and ditch this crummy Seiko bracelet. You do have a twin trigger deployant. It is signed with Seiko. You've only got one micro adjust there. It is milled. Then on the back, you do have a display case back. Of course, it is also hardlex. Gives you a view of that 4R34 movement. It is not the most beautiful movement in the world to look at, but if you do choose to look at it, there it is. And then you've got just some specs around the screwed down case back as well. But overall, I'm definitely a fan of this watch. I think it definitely has a classy vibe. I think it definitely has a vintage vibe. You can definitely see the inspiration from some 60s Seiko watches. If you go back and look at some pictures of vintage Seiko watches and then look at this watch, you can definitely see the design cues. You can see where they were going with this one. I think they did a very nice job with this watch. I'm a Seiko fan, as most watch enthusiasts are, and this is a really good release from Seiko. They do have a couple different color variants of this one. This particular color is my favorite. Again, $625 US is the full retail price on this one. And if you're interested in picking one of these up, I'd say go for it. I think this one is a winner. So let's take a look at the lume on this one. It does have a Lume bright, and then we'll take a look and see what it looks like on my 7.5-inch wrist. So this watch trends to the dressier side and not quite the sportier side, so maybe not quite as much lume as you're used to seeing on a Seiko, but it is Lume bright, so it does glow very nicely. Got a lume pip at each one of your indices. They're on the inside track of the indices and not on the outside, which is interesting. And then you've also got that Dauphine style handset loomed very nicely. The one big miss on this watch from Seiko, the GMT hand, not loomed. Don't know why they chose not to lume the GMT hand, but I think they should have. That would be one drawback of the watch, but overall the lume is pretty solid. Here's the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. Wears very nicely, again, 40 by 48 essentially, 41 by 48. It's going to fit a lot of wrists. Those lugs do curve down. Looks very nice on wrist. Definitely a fan of the look of this watch. I think Seiko did a very nice job on this one. If you're looking for an affordable GMT watch, maybe this is the one for you. The Seiko style 60s Presage, the Seiko Presage style 60s GMT. If you liked the video, give me a like, maybe subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.